We claim that God was just there and he didn't have a creator. Isn't that the same thing, if not harder to understand? Ha, heavy. You know, it could be harder to understand. But the problem with the other theory is that it's not even a complete theory. The Big Bang means there was something that didn't have to be created, and it exploded. So you got the same problem. The difference between evolution and Torah, everybody has to assume that something existed that didn't need to be created, otherwise we just... So something existed that didn't need to be created. That something is intelligent or not? That's the whole question. So they say no, it was not intelligent, it just exploded. Which really doesn't make any sense. You know why? If something existed without being created, then it existed forever and ever. All of a sudden it exploded. What happened? It existed for endless time, and then it exploded. What happened? So the whole thing just... The age of the universe, the whole thing is just a big mistake or lie. One of the two. If there was something that didn't need to be created, would it be lacking intelligence? And if it's lacking intelligence, where did intelligence come from? Whatever there was at the beginning is the source of everything. So how can we have something now that it didn't have? Doesn't make sense. So the real difference is, who cares how the world came into existence? Does it make a difference? It doesn't make a difference. Unless you want to learn how to make a world because you want to make one too. It doesn't make any difference how the world... What does make a difference is, why did the world come into existence? That makes a difference. I mean, am I here for a reason or not? Is there a plan or no? But nobody wants to ask the question of why. So they're busy trying to figure out how. Who cares? So you see, the Medrash asks the question immediately. Bereishis bora elikim, the Medrash says, for whom? As the first question. Not how. For what? That's a mature question. How do you have a relationship with another person who sees God in a very different way from you? And what do you do with the guilt of not being able to make a big enough difference? I think we all feel a little guilty, no? Things are happening in the world, and the world needs a lot of help, and how much can we help? And how much can I do? Seems very, very little. Yeah, you can say Tehillim. Does that feel like enough? It only takes you 5 minutes. What do you do the rest of the day? So yeah, it's a good question. But I think the feeling is not a feeling of guilt. It's a feeling of helplessness. I'm not guilty, it's not my fault. but it feels so helpless. I just stand and watch and listen and can't do anything about it. That feels terrible. So it's not guilty. It's you feel paralyzed.
And then what do you do with that?
What do you do with that? You know, this has been a question that we have had for all of our history. We've always been in this position. We're always like, what can we do now? And the answer has always been, do what you do best and do it more. Don't go looking for your weaknesses. This is not a time for looking for weaknesses. What are you good at? What have you succeeded at? Well, do it more, not less. Don't let it stop you or discourage you or set you back. Because if you let that happen, you're finished. We're all finished. So I tell you this incredible story. You know that Mendel was an amazing human being. He outlived the communists. He outsmarted them. He was just bigger than life. Anyway, here's the story. He was in jail. Before they sent him to the labor camps, he was in a prison. All the guards, the horrible anti-Semitic, cruel, they fell in love with him. First of all, he was very physically strong, and they were impressed. Secondly, he had a great sense of humor. They really liked him. So they did him little favors. So one night, the guard comes up to his cell, and he says to him, "We just arrested another one of your guys. And he is in the cell right under yours, one floor lower. And the pipe that runs through the building with the heat is not really sealed as it goes through the floor. It's like a... So if you want to talk to him at night when it's quiet, talk to the hole in the floor, he'll hear you." So first of all, Mendel figured out who it was. And then he lays down on the floor and he whispers into the pipe. He says, "Moshe." It was Moshe Vyshetsky. He says, and Moshe says, "Who's that?" Because nobody told him. So he tells him, it's Mendel. And then he asks him the first question. He says to him, "Du bist zufrieden? Are you content?" Is that the most ridiculous question you could possibly ask? He was telling him something really important. They're going to want to break you down. They're going to want to make you confess. They're going to want you to give out other names. That's what they're holding you for. If you're afraid, then you're already weakened and they've already won the first battle. If you're afraid of them, they have the upper hand. They're not afraid of you. You're afraid of them. They got you. So don't be afraid, that's for sure. But that's not enough. Are you content? Because if you're not content, they already got you. Like, for example, I don't want to be here. They're holding me against my will. They got you. You're giving them power. Because they have the power to make you not afraid, but miserable. It's the first breach. That's an opening that gives them access to all your weaknesses, and they're going to break you down. You have to feel, hey, I am perfectly content to be here. This is what the Eibishter wants. I don't care who you are. I don't care who the president is, and you don't count at all. I'm perfectly content to be here if that's what I'm supposed to do. So you've gotten nowhere with me. It's so brilliant. But that's really, without really knowing it, that's what we've done to survive for 3,000 years. You don't put me where you want, I am where Hashem wants me. You have nothing. You don't scare me, you don't impress me, and you don't make me do things I don't want to do. That's pretty strong. So if we let this feeling of helplessness slow us down, we've already lost. So the only real solution is more. I am not intimidated. I'm going to do more of what I do and what I do best. But don't start thinking, what am I doing wrong? What else can I do that I haven't done? That's coming out of weakness. So unfortunately, many of the rabbis in Israel are sitting around trying to figure out, what did we do wrong? What did we do wrong? They got you. If they can make you feel guilty, they got you. And in the secular world, oh, maybe the land is not ours. Maybe we are occupiers. Maybe we shouldn't kill their civilians. They got you. That's it. They broke you. You can't be broken. Can't afford it. So what should you do? More of what you're good at. Because that feels good. You're good at it. It doesn't weaken you. It doesn't cause you to doubt. And that's perfect. Yeah, that's what the Rebbe means. Whenever there's a problem, we fight the problem with more good. What more good? What you're good at.
What if we don't know what we're good at?
That's a whole different problem. And that's a problem when there's no war at all. If you don't know what you're good at, do what comes natural. Whatever good you can do that isn't forced, that isn't desperate. Okay, how do you have a relationship with another person who doesn't see God the same way you do? That's a very serious red line. Because if you don't see God the same way, you probably don't see anything the same way. Hi, Rabbi. Long time no speak.
Oh, okay. Everybody turn your heads back.
How are you doing? How is your family and wife? Thank you so much for asking. We can use a refuah. I want to hear about any existential crisis you've been going through. We don't have enough time for my existential problems. But thank you for asking. Did you always want to be a rabbi? Never wanted to be a rabbi. There's nothing exciting about being a rabbi. But a shliach? Always. What is the most interesting and best advice you've learned while studying Torah? A life lesson that changed your perspective on something. I'll tell you a life perspective that changed everything, not just something. Here's what happened. 50 years ago, we started Beis Chana in Minnesota. It was wild, it was crazy, it was irresponsible. It was.
Can you give some background on this?
Yes. We had just bought a big house, a Chabad house. We thought it was very big. This was 1971. It was just at the time of the hippies. It was a time of real change in life in America and in other countries. So 2 yeshivas opened up for Bali Tshuva. One here in New York and one in Chabad. So after we bought the building, the summer came and nobody was in town. So there were no weekends happening, no students, no teenage, nothing. So we're sitting around thinking, well, the big building is empty. So it was a joke to begin with. It was literally a joke. We were saying, all these guys who are in the yeshivas, the Baal Tshuva yeshivas, who are they going to marry? Maybe we should do a woman's yeshiva. And I don't know how it became serious. And we sent out a flyer to 6 campuses: Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, saying, vacation time, come. We'll learn and find out the purpose of life. We had no idea anybody's going to come. Nobody's going to come with it. 18 women showed up. And these women were the politically radical students who were burning down campuses, trying to shut down the campuses, trying to stop the war in Vietnam. I mean, these were the really tough, but they failed. They couldn't stop the war, they couldn't, it was a failure. And they were very angry, frustrated, upset. They came into the Chabad house. They didn't come as a group. They came from different campuses, but they all had the same experience. So we were thinking, college girls come to a Chabad house. We have 30 rooms. We'll feed them. They'll live in the house. They'll do a little sightseeing, do a little shopping, and at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll have classes, and the Beis Rivka girls, who were the counselors in the day camp, by 4 o'clock the camp is over, so they'll come and they'll teach. We told the girls this plan, and they said, no way. We don't do sightseeing and we don't do shopping. We don't do girly things. We came here to learn. You know the purpose of life? Whoa. They were scared. So I ended up teaching, which was not the plan at all. But I'm teaching. The classes, the discussions went on the entire day through the night. They had so much energy, it was... So, technically, classes started 9 o'clock in the morning and ended 8 o'clock in the morning. We had an hour to sleep, and then back to the questions and the challenges. And so here's what happened. I'm sitting there trying to stimulate a little interest in Judaism. But if I would say something like, when your grandmother lit Shabbos candles, and they looked at me like, not my grandmother. when your Zaidi went, my Zaidi ate pork on Yom Kippur. What are you talking about? So I'm trying to find something connection, like why should they be interested? And whatever I said, the most wonderful ideas, they said, okay, but so what? The big question was, why do I need that? It's great, it's wonderful. Wow, that's really, that's deep. So what? I don't need it. That was the biggest challenge. I don't need that. Good. You want to do that? That's great. I don't need that. And I'm trying to, find a way to convince them that they need it, and they don't need it. Nobody can tell them that if you go to the mikveh you won't get cancer. I mean, so I realize they are right. We have been wrong. Do they need it? No, they don't need it. Do I need it? And I realized I don't need it either. I need to put on tefillin. Really? Yeah. I need to do that
Well, if you want to follow in the ways of
if I want to, but I don't need it. Religion convinces you that you have very big needs and only religion, their religion, can help you. Isn't that what religion is? You're in trouble and only we can help you. That itself should make you so suspicious. Like, oh, I see. So I have to depend on you, in other words. I don't like this idea. It's already not sounding so good. So here's the story that really can change everything. A bacher goes from New York to France, to yeshiva, the Chabad yeshiva in France. This is in the 1960s. The yeshiva in France was primitive. They had outdoor toilets. In the 60s, that was pretty primitive. But the yeshiva felt, what, you have to cater and indulge and spoil yourself? What's wrong with outdoors? Okay, so it's cold. Okay, so it's a little dangerous to go out at night. Don't be so spoiled. Anyway, American kids did not take to this. This one guy, he came back after 3 months. They actually told you if you're going to go to that yeshiva, pack an extra suitcase for toilet paper. God, they're not going to give you any toilet paper. Anyway, he packed the toilet paper and it didn't help. He came back after 3 months. But he came back a completely different person. What happened is, he arrives the first day, goes into the office, he wants to call his mother. Needs a phone. He goes in, and the mashpia happened to be sitting in the office. And he says, I have to call my mother, which phone can I use? And the mashpia says to him, I have to, or need, ich darf. You thought, what is this guy, hard of hearing or something? So he said it again. I have to call my mother. And the mashpia says, I have to. So he said, okay, my mother needs me to call her. Which phone can I use? And the mashpia said to him, good, stop lying. It blew him away. Like, what did I say? You're attacking me like that. I'm a liar? What? He's a teenage boy. He's in France. He doesn't need to call his mother. He's having a great time. His mother needs him to call. So why is he calling his mother? Because he needs to. Because he knows that she needs to hear from him. So by saying, I need to call, you're a liar. Why are you being dishonest when you can so easily be honest? Why would you take your mother's need and call it yours? It's not honest. He became a different person. overnight he became mature. Isn't the same thing true with God? God says, listen up, I have a mitzvah. And you walk away and say, oh, so now I have to do that. No, not you have to do that. Not you need to do that. God just told you what he needs. Why are you lying? Every frum kid. Oh, I'm late. I have to go to the minyan. No, you don't have to go to a minyan. Can you help me out? I need a pair of tefillin. You don't need a pair of tefillin. Why can't you talk straight?
You want a pair of tefillin? No, God wants a pair of
And so-
tefillin. God wants you to put on a pair.
Right. Sometimes I want, sometimes I don't want. But why should that make any difference? What if this guy doesn't want to call his mother? So he shouldn't. It was never his need to begin with. So whether you want to or not is really not the question. It's how much does your mother need you to call? So here's the thing that changes everything. We're so convinced, to our own detriment, we are so convinced that we are needy. I need. I have to have. It's not true. It is simply not true. Look what happened in Israel. Until that massacre, what was going on in Israel? Protests. Thousands and thousands of people were marching in the streets against the government because the government wanted to change something in the Supreme Court. I don't even know what it is. And they were arguing, what's a true democracy? Does a democracy go like this, or does a democracy go like that? And then that happened. Does anybody really care about democracy? No. Is anybody going to go out and protest whether the democracy will be like this or like that? It's completely unnecessary. The whole thing that was tearing the country apart, over what? Completely unnecessary. Because it was never true. Think about this. What do you need? And the answer has to be nothing. I don't need anything. Thank you very much. And why don't I need anything? Because I didn't ask to be born. If I didn't ask to be born, which means I don't need to be born, well, if I don't need to be born, I certainly don't need another phone. I don't even need to be here altogether. So I want another phone, but I don't need it. Come on. I don't need anything. Because if I don't need to live, then I don't need anything. Is that good news or bad news?
It's confusing. Like, doesn't it contradict everything that the Torah says?
It contradicts everything we've been told for 5,000 years.
Does it?
It does. What have we been told for 5,000 years? If you don't go to work, you're not going to get paid, you're not going to have money, you're going to die. Oh, no, I can't die. Go to work. Become a farmer. Why? Well, if you don't make food, you're going to die. So everything we've done for 5,000 years is because we don't want to die. Today, people are saying, yeah, what the heck. I should go out and work and struggle and just not to die. I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't want to die, as long as life is good. But do I need it? No. So again, is that good news or bad news? Bad?
Depends on how it shifts your perspective.
Well, let's see, what is the bad side? You're kind of losing interest in life. You're saying, I don't need this, you sound a little depressed. You sound like you're giving up.
Just a bit.
No, it doesn't sound bad. Imagine a 9-year-old boy says, I didn't ask to be born. Oh my God, you don't even want to live? He's not saying I don't want to live. He's saying I don't have to. The positive side of it is we're suddenly liberated from all the things that make us miserable. So once I got that, teaching the women, I realized they are right. We've been giving the wrong message. You raise your kid to be frum, you have to, you need to, you must. Not true. So what happens is, for a couple of years, the child believes you, because he's a child. Says, yeah, I have to go, I have to make a bracha, I have to. And then he wakes up one morning and says, you know what? I don't have to. So he tells his father, I don't have to go to the minyan. What happens? In the olden days, thrown out of the house. What do you mean you don't have to? Out. You're a bum. Today, we don't throw people out of the house, but you become the problem child. You have issues. And all you're saying is, I don't have to. Can you imagine? The father says, you have to daven. The kid says, no, I don't have to. The father says, yeah, you have to, you must. The kid says, no, I don't. Watch. I haven't davened yesterday. I haven't davened the day before. I'm fine. See, I don't have to.
Wow, mikvah today is going to be a whole different experience.
So what happens? The very religious simply become punishing. You do have to, and if you say it one more time,
You're out of the house.
what do the not so religious say? See, you have to find ways to convince them that they need to. Bribe them. You know, you're not convincing them that they need to, you're just making it worthwhile.
Show them why they would want to is probably the best.
Yeah, let's tell them why they would want to. But that's not the whole truth. They really need to. But we're not going to tell them that because that upset. And the game starts. The whole thing becomes a game. So what is the truth? Which really changed everything. What does it mean? You need to do a mitzvah, but God, who gave you the mitzvah, doesn't need you to do the mitzvah because he's God. How does that make any sense? He gives you the mitzvah, but he doesn't need it. You need it. It's totally backwards. It's not my idea. I didn't ask to be born. I didn't write the Torah. I didn't need to be born. And it's my need? How does that work? On the other hand, he created me. He made me be born. He gave me the Torah. Sounds like he needs, doesn't it? So what does it mean, Ivdu es Hashem? Serve God. What does serve God mean? It means do something for him. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
But how can you do something for him if he doesn't need anything?
What do you mean he gave us an entire book of what he wants?
Needs. That's the key word. The key word is, if I'm not here because I need to be here, then I am here because someone needs me to be here. So here's the difference. You go from being needy to being needed. That makes so much sense. Everything makes sense all of a sudden. Which goes back to the first question. If you believe in evolution, you don't need to be here. Evolution doesn't need you to be here. So if you disappear off the face of the earth, makes no difference. Right? You're evolving.
And scientists say it'll be better for the world
What would be better?
if humans go away.
Right. The world would be better off without you. Thank you very much. This is really an exciting philosophy of life. You see what's going on? Evolution means there was a time when there were no human beings. You evolved into human beings. You will continue to evolve into something else. So if human beings become extinct, like the dinosaurs, who cares? Who cares? Oh, they're worried about the environment. We got to go green. We got to clean the air. Why? If you can't breathe, it means you're evolving. You have to evolve into something that can breathe toxic air. You can't breathe toxic air? Okay, you're doomed, like the dinosaur. But why are you trying to save yourself? Just evolve. Let it happen. All right, that's a long answer to a question. How does a person overcome anger, the feeling of being hurt by someone else, not take over your mind and life? See, this wouldn't even happen. I don't need, well, she doesn't like me. I didn't even need to be born. I have to worry about her. Oh, I don't like her. But why would it take over my life? I don't need it. Do I need to be loved? Everybody in the world says yes. You desperately need to be loved. No, you don't. If you don't need to be born, why do you need to be loved? You don't. What do you need? You need to know who needs you. Because we are needed people. We are not needy people. So just tell me who needs me and I'm fine. I'll do it or I won't do it, but I know why I'm here. This would never bother you. But when we're so convinced that every need I have must be, so it's not like, well, suffer, you can't have what you want. Torah isn't saying suffer. Torah is saying don't suffer by making the mistake of thinking that you need. Because as soon as you think you need, you're starting to suffer. But what practically can you do when you get angry because of someone else, and how do you not let that take over your life? Anytime you see something bad in a person, what should you do? Even if it's not affecting you, but you think, oh, disgusting. So the first thing you do is, don't exaggerate and pretend that this is the only person in the world who is so disgusting. I can't believe anyone could be 90% of the world has the same problem. So make it a human issue, not an individual issue. How could you lie like that? Come on, we're the best liars in the world. Yeah, we're the only liars in the world. Animals don't lie. So how could she? What world do you live in? How could she? How could everybody else? So don't make it like she's like an alien. She's a human being. And human beings do that. In fact, I'm going to tell you some really... What happened in Israel. People are saying, how could anyone do such things? Horrible, horrible things. I'm not going to go over it again. You've heard it already too many times. But really, inhumane, how could anyone be like that? Oh, stop it. They did that to us when they destroyed the first Beis HaMikdash. They did it to us when they destroyed the second Beis HaMikdash. Haman was going to do that to us if he could succeed. Don't play, don't be so naive. How can a human being kill babies? Stop it. Are they not human beings because they did that? I wish. If only they were not human beings. But they are. So don't pretend that, oh, they are the weirdest people. They're not weird. They're human beings. Somebody made this really scary observation. Somebody said, you know what, they were cutting up babies. And somebody said, oh, you mean like the trans people here in America? Isn't that shocking? Of course, they killed the babies. But in terms of mutilation, they were mutilating babies. Yeah, we do that too. We're just more polite. We do it in a hospital. You're mutilating babies. And you think that's okay? So let's not pretend that Hamas are weird. They're not. They're simply not afraid to be disgusting. Some people are afraid. So the first thing is when you see something bad in another person, don't make her the exception. There we go, being human. Number 2. I don't do that. She is such a liar. Wait, you're not? You don't lie? What are you getting so self-righteous? Oh, I don't lie like that. Oh, okay. You got to know how to lie, is what you're saying. She is so mean. Wow. I don't think I've ever met a mean person. Are you kidding? I'm mean. Let me just get me in a bad mood. I can't be mean.
So what do you do with like that person? Like you see them constantly.
Oh, you see? I'm mean sometimes. She's mean all the time. So basically what you're doing is you're allowing the reality. People are weak. Not those people. People are weak. People are selfish. And they try the best to do what they think is best for them, which is what we're all doing. So you can say, well, she's not succeeding. She's messing up her life. Well, then have pity on her. Again, using Israel as an example. Somebody said, it is so sad. Jews are always the victim. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. I am not sad about Jews. I'm sad about non-Jews. They're so messed up.
Tried so
They
many
have-
times and have failed and failed and failed. They're really bad at it.
No, I mean that. Oh, those poor anti-Semites, they can't seem to kill us. No, not that pity. The pity is, after all these years, with all the education, going to college, learning philosophy, learning art, they still don't know a murderer when they see one. They still don't know right from wrong. We're in trouble. No. They are in serious trouble. And who are the worst? Who can look at what happened in Israel and blame the Jews? Who? You know who?
Jews.
Religious people and educated people. College students and religious people. They're the worst. But we thought that those two things are supposed to make you better. Religion is supposed to make you better. College is supposed to make you better, sophisticated, civilized. Religion has failed and college has failed. I mean, there are people on television and saying, don't go to college. Parents, don't send your kids to college. It makes you stupid. And most people say, don't get religious. Don't get religious, you're going to become vicious, you're going to become an animal. So when you see someone who really is wrong, and it bothers you or hurts you, or, don't have pity on yourself. Have pity on the person. And as soon as you bring in a little bit of pity, the anger softens. So, short answer. If you don't want to be angry at someone, feel pity instead. You can't feel love. That's ridiculous. So, oh, just love him. I hate him. Yeah, well, we just love him. That's not realistic. It's you have pity on people you don't love. You have pity on people because they're in trouble, not because they're wonderful. So yeah, you can hate somebody and have pity.
So if the anger doesn't subside from having pity, doesn't mean that it's a problem within you?
Well, either you're not really having pity, or this guy's really bad. You found the exception. You met the devil himself. It is very sad. Universities, colleges, studies, degrees, PhDs, and they can watch what happened in Israel and say, yeah, the Jews do the same thing. For this, you go to college? It's really sad. And a little dangerous, by the way. Things are getting kind of violent on campuses. Because the professors and the people who run the colleges have the same problem. They don't know right from wrong. What is an issue currently in Judaism that concerns rabbis, parents, etc.? What is a current issue that concerns rabbis and parents? I would think, I would hope, the current issue in Jewish life is the breakdown in family. We used to have the healthiest families in the world. What happened? It can't work. It can't work. You don't have a healthy family, you don't have healthy people. It's as simple as that. So parents who can't get along with their children are convinced, we're healthy, the kid is messed up. The kid says, I'm the only healthy one in the family, they're all nuts. So who's healthy? Depends who you ask. But who's really healthy? Nobody. Anybody doing anything about it? That should concern rabbis and parents, of course. And if you can do something about it, do it. Don't think about how bad it is. Think about how good you can make it. That will make a huge difference. Is it right for a Jewish man to get with a non-Jewish woman when her intention is to convert? Serious conversion. Get with. You get with a man, why is the family falling apart? I'll tell you, interesting. I was asked to speak at a Talmud Torah class. These are kids who are little traditional, not religious at all. And they go to Talmud Torah after public school. They don't want to be there. They hate it. It's a waste of time. They don't learn anything. So the teacher asked me to come and talk to them about premarital sex. They're 12 years old. I mean, today, 12-year-olds are grown up. But this is like 35 years ago. So I walk in, try to start the conversation. They're giggling and it's impossible. So I said, you know what? Let's forget about premarital sex. Let's talk about extramarital sex. The room got quiet so suddenly, it was frightening. Like, oh, what happened? All of a sudden, they're all serious. Which is revealing. All I said was, let's talk about people who are married having sex with somebody other than their spouse. And they all got serious. Why? The thought that their parents are cheating on each other? It is a scary thing, but why is it even a possibility? Everyone in the class got nervous? There is something really wrong with our marriages. But listen what happened. It started a whole debate. Most of the kids said, no, that's wrong. I said, so what you're saying is that if a married man once in a while behaves as if he's not married, and can have sex with other women, that's wrong. But if a person who is not married can sometimes behave as if they are married, that's okay. You can't have it both ways. Does intimacy belong in marriage or doesn't it? If it belongs in marriage, then you don't do it before and you don't do it while you're married. But if you can sometimes be a little married, why can't you sometimes be a little not married? Which is it? So, can you get with a man who is going to convert? If you're not married, you don't get with anybody. It's crazy. Say, should I get deeply involved with this guy I might not marry? Oh, let me think about that. No! What is wrong with you? Should I get closer to this guy than I am with my mother and then find out that he really is not interested? What, are you suicidal? What's wrong with you? No, you don't do that. So even if there's going to be a conversion, you don't get with anybody until you're standing under the chuppah. And even then you got to be careful. Some people don't even take the chuppah seriously. There was a question here about modesty. See if I can find it. Yeah. Why is keeping tznius so important? If I know that me not keeping tznius will help me keep the other mitzvahs. If you want a serious answer, not a serious, but a convincing answer. Not keeping tznius helps me keep other mitzvahs. If that were true, then by all means, don't be tznius. But what does that mean? Not being tznius helps you keep other mitzvahs? How? How? We have a little bit of a resentment about mitzvahs because we're told that we need to do it. And we don't like that because it's not true. So we have this need to say, stop it. I don't need the mitzvahs. I'll do it if you let me, but if you tell me I have to, no. Not because I'm so arrogant that you can't tell me what to do. You can tell me what to do in every other subject, not on Judaism. Why? Because it's not true. When you tell me I have to do mitzvahs and I know it's not true, I don't like it. So what happens? If I can show that I do what I want to do by not being tznius, okay, then I'll do the other mitzvahs because I want to. That make sense? So by not keeping tznius, you're just demonstrating that you're not being forced. The mitzvahs you're going to do will be the mitzvahs you choose to do because, see, I don't keep tznius, so I'm an independent. If we simply told the truth, I don't need any of the mitzvahs. I don't know why I pick on tznius. I don't need any of them. I do them because I have no other reason to be on earth. This is who I really am. I was created to serve, not to be needy. I wrote a book about this in Hebrew, in Israel. It's considered a secular book because I don't, nothing religious about it, just. And the name of the book is I Didn't Ask to Be Born, in Hebrew. A woman from Kfar Chabad, 66 years old. She had been a teacher when she was younger, raised with Hasidus all her life. She read the book, and she called up crying. You mean I've been wrong my whole life? You mean I was raised wrong my whole life? All I was told was, if you do it, you go to Gan Eden. If you don't do it, you go to Gehenna. That's all I was told.
She just said she was raised with Hasidus.
She was crying because with one book, with one sentence, it becomes so obvious and so clear. What, are you threatening me to do mitzvahs? You're bribing me to do mitzvahs? Then who am I? What would I be without the bribes and without the threats? Hasidus says, the Baal Shem Tov said, stop threatening and stop bribing, and you will see how good Jews will be. That was the whole point. One of my kids came home from school when they were 11, 12 years old. How come we can't do any Shabbos? We can't. I said, I don't know. What do you want from me? What, did I write the Torah? It's your Torah. It's your God. You're Jewish. Handle it. The worst thing that frum parents can hear from their children, the worst, is, it's your religion, you keep it. It's my. Did I give you that impression? I messed you up so bad? I gave you the impression that this is my issue? I need you to be frum? What a disaster. What a chinuch failure. So this is what this woman is saying. All I was told was, it'll be good if you're good, it'll be very bad if you're bad. Where does God fit in? Where does Avedas Hashem fit in? Where does Simcha fit in? So, if you need to not be tznius in order to prove that you're doing the mitzvahs willingly, you don't need to do that. The only way to do mitzvahs is willingly. If you're doing it because of a threat, you're not really doing a mitzvah. You're just preserving your own health. No threats and no bribes.
Still adds up though, huh? Doesn't it still add?
Still what?
Still adds up, like the mitzvahs that you're unwillingly doing, or the mitzvahs that you are willingly doing, it still counts. It's
For
just
whom?
not the proper way.
For whom? Counts to whom? Every mitzvah you do is to God an eternal, permanent pleasure. Is it for you? I don't need this. So how's your bank account in heaven? I don't have a bank account in heaven. Leave me alone. So why would I do a mitzvah? What's the definition of a mitzvah? Something God needs. Ask me again why I would do it. You're doing it just for him? For free? Wow, you're some kind of tzaddik. No, you're not. You're just a human being. The rabbis who say, if you don't threaten, they won't do it. If you don't bribe them, they won't do it. What a nasty attitude. We will never do anything good unless we're bribed or threatened? Who are you talking to? It's so degrading. You think you need to bribe me to do a mitzvah? What am I, 4 years old? You need a lollipop? So the problem with that attitude is, number one, it's not true, because I don't need to do it. Number two, you're leaving God out of the picture. There's no God except to punish. That's all he's good for. But number three, you think so little of me? You're so convinced that if it's nothing in it for me, I won't do it? You really think people are that petty and that selfish and that greedy? Then you shouldn't be a leader. You shouldn't be a rabbi. You're looking down at the people you're leading. It's nasty. So there's no avas Yisrael, there's no avas Hashem, there's no avas HaMitzvahs. What are you left with? Frightened people. That is a lousy deal. So, gotta go? So to sum it all up, we are not needy. Talking to non-Jews, I say, get up off your knees already. Stop begging God. You're not always in trouble. Learn to smile once in a while. We're not needy. We are necessary. And that is so much better. In fact, being necessary is so much better than being loved. It really is. Someone loves you. What does that mean? That you're a good person?
No.
Or that they're a good person?
Also no.
Also.
No.
Right. The worst kids in the world, their mothers love them. So, what does love do for you?
It's the feeling of being wanted, but it's by another person.
Not just wanted, needed. Imagine parents saying to their kids, you know, we never needed you. We don't need you, but you're so cute. We love you. So, no. That's good for a pet. You say that to your gerbil. Don't say that to me. I'm not necessary, but you love me? I'm your entertainment? Love is not an answer to anything. It's just enjoyable. It's like chocolate. You say, you know, we don't need you, but we'll give you chocolate. Thank you.
I think Mrs. G would be okay with that.
Huh?
Said I think Mrs. G would be okay with that.
Well, I would be okay with that. Chocolate? Anything for chocolate. No, seriously. We don't need to be loved. We like to be loved. We don't need. What do we need? To know where we're needed. That's what a human being is. So who needs you?
Question: if no one needs anything, then how are you going to be needed by someone if no one needs anything?
Well, the creator of the world obviously needs something. If I didn't create the world, I don't need it.
So it's only God needs you.
Yeah.
Well, that manifests through people.
You
Yeah.
have to feel loved by God, basically.
Needed.
Needed by. Yeah.
Are
And
we?
that can manifest
No,
through
really. Are we necessary to him? Every rabbi in the world will tell you no. Every rabbi in the world will tell you he doesn't need you. And I've been arguing and arguing. Now, take a look at what happened to the people in Israel who were massacred. And tell me God didn't need them. Say it. I dare you. So somebody comes over to me and says, why would God let that happen? So why not? He doesn't need them. How could you say that? You've been saying that your whole life. You're saying God doesn't need anything. So why are you asking why he he lets people get killed because he doesn't need them. Now they're horrified by the thought. Take a look at the pictures of the kids who got killed and tell me God does not need them.
If he doesn't need them, why did he create them in the first place?
But that you can argue. But now, I dare anyone to look at those people and say, yeah, God doesn't need them. It's so perverse.
Clearly, you just wanted them a little closer.
Huh?
Said clearly, you just wanted them a little bit closer.
Okay, this.
Can't find a nicer way.
Yeah.
Like, hey, come by and visit. Take 3 buses, a taxi, and a train. How about send me an Uber? Anyway, what is going to happen? In a very short time, the world is going to become so much better than it ever was. That's what's going to happen. Question is only, how long will it take, and how many bad people do we have to get rid of in the process? But it's going to become a much better world. Without a doubt. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Let's do this again sometime.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have questions, I'm sure.
Especially during school hours.